coming up. But stuff that we did on the floor in terms of we got shots, we worked on some defensive stuff, concepts. We scripted on offense. So they were out there going through. Haven't had any conversations with them about tomorrow yet. So we'll have to wait and see how they feel coming at it today, and we'll see how they do tomorrow.
Your thoughts on Cleveland, and obviously they look very different than they did a couple weeks ago when you saw them.
Yeah, I mean, they played obviously a great game against Boston. So, a lot to get prepared for from the standpoint that they've obviously their team's changed drastically, personnel-wise, from the last time we played them.
Billy, Jeremy, I mean, you talked a little bit the other day about Jeremy's just kind of balance in general. Have you really started to see that manifest specifically with his free throws? Is that a coincidence that we've seen him get to the line more as his balance gets better?
Yeah, I think it's a big part of it. Yeah, because he's able to power the ball up to the basket a lot better. So I do think his balance, when he's getting to the rim, he's not, where he's playing off of one leg, but he's playing off of, I think, more strength and power and a better base. So that definitely has contributed to him getting to the free throw line.
How big was that stretch? I think he drew like 6 straight fouls on them early in that first.
Yeah, it was good. I think to what Fred was saying, it was good. He had good balance. He attacked. He was low. He had a good center of gravity, and then he was able to kind of get angles to the rim. And no question, I mean, we took a lot of free throws last night. We did a good job attacking the paint. And certainly when you can get fouls like that, even though some of them were not shooting fouls, it does put us closer to the bonus.
To be clear on what you mentioned with Russell and Melo before, were they able to go through everything today?
They did everything. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any update on a potential status for tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Billy, what's Andre's involvement been the past couple of weeks as he comes off the surgery? What's it been like having him around, and what's his involvement?
It's good. It's hard just because of where he's at with his leg. He really can't bend his knee. Mm-hmm. Obviously he can't get up and down stairs. He does some treatment in the back. He does exercises to try to prevent, atrophy just, in his legs. So he's doing glute, hamstring, quad, stuff to stimulate those muscles. But just seeing him every day is great. When he is here, obviously he can't travel. He can't go sit on the bench. So I think certain sitting positions are difficult for him, until he gets further along in this process.
Do you have an opportunity, even though he's, in the state he's in, do you have an opportunity to have him in film and contribute in that way?
Yeah, he was in film today. He comes to the film, all team activities, he's there part of it when we can have him there. So he was in film this morning. He's around our guys. He's back there in the training room. He comes out on the court. So, it's good. Once practice starts, you start, going up and down, you're doing stuff. It's really hard to, per se, stay engaged that way. But I know the guys really enjoy seeing him. I think it's healthy for him that he see those guys. I think anytime you're going through an injury, it can kind of seem like a lonely existence, with things you're doing by yourself and alone. So I think the more he's around his teammates in the organization, I think the better.
Is it similar to when he was playing, when he's in film, the way he looks at things and the input you get or the feedback you get from him, or is it a little bit different?
I really didn't ask for any input from him today just because he wasn't out there playing, but I do think, where he can provide a lot of input is just scouting reports, preparation, those things. A lot of the film that we watched was trying to make some corrections, off of last night's game, things that we did well, things we could do better. So it's hard when you're in those situations. I do think when you get into personnel issues, I think, him being able to give insight to a Terrence Ferguson, to an Alex, to guys that are going to be in his position, Josh, I think that becomes very impactful.
What did you
in
see?
that spot that he's when he's not when you're trying to fill that starting spot, you have such different players, Josh, Alex, Terrence. What kind of goes into that decision, maybe day to day, in terms of who you're going to play, and how do you go about deciding that?
Well, I took a gamble last night, not in terms of starting Josh or Alex. I don't mean that. I took a gamble that I knew Tyreek was going to play. I just didn't know what kind of role he was going to be in. My guess was I thought he'd come off the bench, just because he'd sat out 6 games. I wanted to have somebody, if they came in late with him at the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, and Paul was off the floor, to have some length and size on him. Obviously, in Memphis, the first time he played him, he had a huge game. So that was a lot that went into the decision of starting, Alex in that situation. It wasn't necessarily all about Alex. It was about our team, So I think sometimes you've got to look at things to evaluate. Like even looking at, some different things with Cleveland, it may not be necessarily who's starting, but maybe who's coming off the bench. How does our second unit match up against their second unit? How does our first unit match up? What are some different things that we can do? Where do we have maybe some advantage and some rotations that we can utilize? So it's really more about our team, more so than it was about Josh or starting Alex over Josh, or Josh going to the bench, or Josh did something wrong. It had nothing to do with that. It was just more of I felt like the best thing for our team in that situation was not knowing with Evans in the situation he's been the last 6 games, what his role and how he was going to kind of go back into the rotation after being gone 6 games, and you're taking your best guess, So that was just kind of the way that's part of the reason we rolled out with the 5 guys that we did.
When you're healthy otherwise, when you have the other 4 guys that you've been starting, are you comfortable with the idea that maybe you might change it game to game?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a really unselfish group. They're always I think we got a group of guys that are willing to do what's best for the team. Just because a guy starts doesn't mean that somebody else is not going to play. One of the things that we wanted to do, Jeremy, was try to find more opportunities for him. That doesn't mean he's not going to play a significant role just because he didn't start. But I think that 4th spot, it could be different. I don't want to say it's going to be different night to night, but yeah, it could change in certain situations based on what's best for our team.
Coach, what did Paul show you?
Waiting patiently.
As far as what he did at point, that even when Russell comes back, that possibly you could use in other scenarios?
Well, I said this before. I mean, we put him in those situations a little bit more. I think sometimes because Russell's not out there, it stands out a little bit more when he's back there at the point. But there's times that he does initiate offense for us. I think the Laker game probably helped a little bit for him, just understanding situations he was going to be in. And, Carmelo and Russell are guarded differently than other guys are guarded, so he's getting accustomed to playing with those other guys. So I definitely feel like, although we didn't play particularly well offensively in the Laker game, I do think that helped us play better in the Memphis game.
You got 40 free throw attempts, 37 three-point attempts, 31 shots in the paint. What were the things that you were doing offensively that led to those kind of high efficiency looks that you're always trying to get?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was trying to keep the ball ahead of the defense. I thought Paul did a great job in pick and roll, finding Steven in the middle of the floor. Steven made some really good plays, whether it's passes or finishes. I think the other part, is we were pretty good defensively. We got stops, and that allowed us to get out on the break. We shot the ball well. We moved the ball well. I thought our ball movement was good. I thought we generated really, really good looks. And we shot a high percentage for most of the game. The 4th quarter was tough there. We had that stretch there probably right around the 6 or 7 minute mark. We didn't score. We turned the ball over. It wasn't a great quarter for us. It probably had bled into maybe not having a great overall offensive night. But for the most part, I thought we did a really good job. And part of it was I think the ball movement was very, very positive.